The Way of the Brewmaster Monk is a really fun modded subclass for the monk that allows you to sort of drink potions or alcohol that will give you a whole bunch of effects while not being intoxicated, but you do kind of have to spread yourself thin when it comes to your stats, but we'll go over all of that. So, we're going to start with level 1, level by level, combat all the items you can need. So of course, we start with the monk, and at level 1 we gain Flurry of Blows as a bonus action using your key points. We get to punch twice in quick succession. Of course, this means we have our key, and these are sort of like your sorcery points, all the fun things you need to cast your abilities. We also gain Unarmoured Defense, so while not wearing armor, we add our Wisdom modifier to our armor class. And then Martial Arts Dexterous Attacks, where our unarmed strikes will scale with our dex instead of our strength if our dex is higher. That also brings Death Strikes, where monk attacks, or weapons, and unarmed attacks will do 1 to 4 bludgeoning damage unless normal damage is higher, as well as bonus unarmed strikes, meaning we can make a unarmed strike as a bonus action. We also gain strength and dexterity saving throw proficiencies, and simple weapon, short sword proficiencies. Now when it comes to ability points, we kind of need a spread between dex, constitution and wisdom. With this, constitution will actually add to lots of stuff as you progress through this, so it's kind of a bit of a weird spread, but it really becomes powerful and online at the end of the game, which I'll show you. But if you were starting this out, I would go 8 strength, 16 dexterity, 14 constitution, 10 intelligence, 16 wisdom, and 10 charisma. For proficiencies, take whatever fits your roleplay. Monk level 2 brings another key point, unarmoured movement. So our movement speed will increase by 3 meters while we're not wearing armor or using a shield. We also gain Patience Defense as a bonus action alongside Step of the Wind, Dash and Disengage, meaning we can do these abilities as a bonus action using key points. Now at Monk level 3, that's where we get to pick up our subclass, so of course for this, the Way of the Brewmaster. You may seem to struggle with balance as you chug your concoctions in the middle of a fight, but this unpredictable behaviour is far from foolhardiness. When your opponent's attacks actually manage to land, it's seemingly unclear how much you will feel, if at all. So the first thing we gain is Brewmaster's Tipple. We're immune to the negative effects of being drunk. When you drink your Brewmaster concoction at 6th level, you gain 1 key point. We get Blackout Kick. You're able to throw your enemies off balance with mighty kicks. When you hit a creature with Flurry of Blows, you can spend an extra key point to deal additional damage equal to your Constitution modifier, briefly making it harder for the target to hit you. And this is where it comes into play that your constitution is also super important for this. Hence the spread between dex, constitution and intelligence, and obviously strength if you want to go with the min-max route of Tavern Brawler and strength potions. That'll also bring Iron Body. You've hardened your body, allowing you to drink more and shrug off stronger blows. While not wearing armor or shield, you add your constitution modifier in place of your wisdom to your armor class. Additionally, your hit point maximum increases by 1 for each level you have in this class. So you might be thinking at this point, well, why do we need the wisdom? Well, wisdom is going to come in handy for things like stunning strike. It sets your save DC. So it's kind of a little bit of a toss-up of how you want to do this. You could, for example, switch it and have 14 wisdom, 16 constitution, but by the end of the game we will be using an item to set your constitution to 23. It kind of depends on how you want to play this build going through it. Monk level 4 brings our first feat, as well as an additional key point, and then Slow Fall. When you fall, you can use a reaction to gain resistance to falling damage. We gain 1 feat at this point, and in my opinion, I would take your dexterity to 18. Monk level 5 brings an additional key point once again, an extra attack, and then Stunning Strike melee and unarmed. This is an attack that counts as a regular attack, so you can do this with your extra attack, and it will cause damage. Monk level 6 brings another key point, improved unarmoured movement, so it's now increased to 4.5 meters while not wearing armor or using a shield. Key empowered strikes, so now our fist attacks will ignore enemies' resistance and immunity to non-magical damage. Brewmaster concoction at level 6, so we know now whenever we drink one of these, we'll regain a key point, as well as 2 passives. Now these passives are your concoctions of what you can pick. So for example, you can take the Celestial Dew, which your attacks will do an additional 1/6 radiant damage until the end of your next turn. The Brewer's Spitting Fire, which means you can breathe fire it's 2 to 16 fire damage, and this will last for the number of rounds equal to your Constitution modifier. So at 14, it's 2 rounds. The more we bump this up, maximum of 6. Fortifying Brews, so we're going temporary hit points equal to our monk level plus our Constitution. Again, showing Constitution to be important. The Swift Foot Brew. So when you take the dash action on one of your turn as a free action until the end of your next turn, your movement doesn't provoke opportunities of attack. The Purifying Brew. So when imbued, you recover hit points equal to your monk level and end any condition causing you to be charmed, diseased, frightened or poisoned. And then finally there is the Iron Skin Brew. Once prepared, when you are hit by an attack, you can use your reaction to drink this brew to reduce any damage you take by amount equal to your monk level plus your constitution modifier to the start of your following turn. So for this we are going to go with the Iron Skin Brew, nice reactionary based one, and we're going to go with Spitting Flames so we can actually have a ranged attack. Monk level 7 brings another key point. We'll also gain Evasion, so now whenever a spell or effect will deal half damage on a successful dex saving throw, we take no damage if we succeed, only half if we fail. And Stillness of Mind, so if you're charmed or frightened, we can automatically cast this to remove the condition. Monk level 8 brings an additional key point and our next feat, and you've probably already guessed, but we are going to be taking our dex to 20. Monk level 9 brings additional key point as well, and advanced unarmoured movement, which now means as well as the increased movement speed, we can now jump an additional 6 meters. And difficult terrain will not slow you down. Monk level 10 brings an additional key point. Now our movement speed, thanks to unarmed movement, is now 6 meters, so we literally get an increased jump speed and then next level 6 meter increased movement speed. And Purity of Body, which means we're immune to poison damage and cannot be poisoned or affected by disease. Monk level 11 brings an additional key point and the Stance of the Ox, meaning for 2 turns and 4 key points, we can basically sacrifice our movement speed to allow us to not be moved. We're essentially just like an immovable object. This will also grant you resistance to piercing, bludgeoning and slashing damage, kind of acting like the more traditional tank in an RPG without sort of like the taunt abilities. We get to pick one more concoction, and this time I would take the Celestial Brew, so our attacks will do an additional 1 to 8 radiant damage. And then finally Monk level 12 brings another key point and our final feat. Now for this one, obviously the most obvious and I think worthwhile choice is to take Tavern Brawler, and your strength modified to the damage twice. It is the meta, it is like the min-max way of playing the monk in this game, but it is also the most powerful and the most worth it doing. And if you want to go from like a roleplay perspective, drinking a strength potion kind of ties in with just getting drunk. So we would go Tavern Brawler and use strength potions. If you really didn't want to go down this route, you could bump your wisdom up, you could take alert. Those are your kind of choices. But I would highly just suggest taking Tavern Brawler. So for this you can sort of bump anything up, we'll just bump our strength up, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's go over our equipment and we start with the Mask of Soul Perception for +2 bonus to attack rolls, initiative and perception checks. The Cloak of Displacement, this will activate at the beginning of your turn, granting disadvantage on enemy attacks against you until you take damage. The Evasive Shoes gives us +1 to acrobatics and armor class. The Vest of Soul Rejuvenation, so whenever we succeed a saving throw against a spell, we'll regain 1 to 4 hit points. The wearer can use a reaction to make an unarmed strike against any attack that misses, and a +2 to armor class. When it comes to gloves, we're taking the Gloves of Soul Catching. We do an additional 1 to 10 force damage with unarmed strikes. Once per turn, really important, once per turn, on an armored hit, you regain 10 hit points, or we can forego healing to gain advantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the end of our next turn, and a Constitution +2 up to 20. For rings, we're going with the Shifting Corpus Ring, Invisibility and Blur, the Burnish Ring for use of Paralysing Ray, and the Amulet of Greater Health to set our Constitution to 23. Now obviously I think this works best on a wizard or a sorcerer, someone that needs it for like concentration spells, but it does work here. If you really don't want to use that, it would set your Constitution to 16. I would recommend dumping your Wisdom to 14, putting your Con to 18. And then you could take, for example, the Sentient Amulet for Shatter and Key Restoration. Kind of choice is yours, depends on your party composition, depends on if you need help with Constitution saving throws, that sort of thing. But I'm just going to go with the maximum route here of taking the amulet so you can really see the huge maximum output you could get. Now with that being said, obviously because of that we do need to drink a strength potion to benefit from Tavern Brawler. So if we find one, we'll take this one, set our strength to 21. And now with that being done, let's go find some combat and I can show you this build. Okay, you can see we're in the combat. So round 1, we'll just start very basic and we'll show off some of our regular attacks. You can see we've got some pretty good damage output. Now we know if we do a Fury of Blows, we can spend key points to knock the enemy around. And you see with our blackout kick, now we landed that. If we come in here, can be targeted by the Brewmaster's blackout kick. So now we know that we have this in the pipeline. Now unfortunately for some reason it didn't give me the option as a reaction to use my ability. It's probably a console thing though, I wouldn't worry too much. You see 2 big misses there. Okay, let's get some of our concoctions done. So we'll do our Brewmaster's concoction, and we'll do our Brew of Spitting Flames. Now this will unlock the ability for us to, for 2 turns, or sorry, for I believe it's 6 turns now, because of our constitution, be able to spit flames. Now you see, it will find it in your inventory here, you do have to drink it as a bonus action. And now, once you've done that, it will unlock the ability, as you can see here, to spit that as a bonus action as well. So it does take a bit of setting up, you can obviously do this before the combat, but I forgot, I won't lie to you guys. With that being said, we still have our ability, we could do our stunning strike, so try and stun the enemy. Unfortunately we did not land it, so we'll try and stun Steve, and instead we just took him out. Now because of that, if we need to, we could heal. We've only lost 1 HP, we don't really need to. Or we could take a stance of the Ox. So now not only we are immovable, we have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing and slashing damage. Again another big miss. And then we took a hit, but it's only 16 damage as a crit. Now you'll see, we're immovable, or immobile I should say, because of stance of the Ox, but we can still attack. So if we came in here, we'll do our flurry of blows. And there you go, a huge amount of damage there. Now, as you'll see, we still don't have an option to do the blackout kick. Maybe on your console you'll have that option somewhere. It should be a reaction. I've tried looking and I can't like see it, so I can trigger it. But it has unlocked, so you do have that ability when you work it out essentially. Other than that, we will just strike. And now, because we're still in our stance, we still have that resistance to all that damage. And now you can see here, another big miss. And then another big miss. So between the stance and your high dex with the high AC, you can really tank the battlefield. Like the Barbarian kind of nullified focusing on our Monk. Okay, our stance has run off, so let's go up here.
Breathe deep
and let's show off our little fire breathing technique we now have. And what's awesome is because this start counts as a bonus action, we can flame both enemies, just like that, and then we can still run in with some heavy strikes, trying to take the enemies out. And of course, once again, if we need to, we could heal up, but we don't. What we will do in the meantime though, is we will do our Celestial Brew, and we'll get this crafted, meaning we can now drink that as well, to get the Radiant on our gloves. Right, let's get our Radiant going. So, if we drink our Celestial Brew, we'll now have Radiant damage on our gloves,
blood follows me everywhere.
which you'll see, unfortunately not on that attack. What we will do, Stunning Strike, and there's the Radiant damage. And with this enemy being like this, obviously as our bonus action we could heal if we need to, all sorts of fun things. Now we still have our Celestial Brew for 1 turn, so let's really pump out some damage. We can do 1 strike, we can do 2, and even though we have run out of key points, we can still do our unarmed strike as a bonus action, just like that. So you can really just pump out the Force, Radiant and normal damage, and of course this is a rogue, so they are going to naturally take less damage anyway, thanks to things like evasion and uncanny dodge. And at this point it really is just a case of taking enemies out. So we can take that enemy out. We can come up here, taking this enemy hopefully out. There we go. And we still got our 1 bonus action left for this. Of course we still have other concoctions we can do, so for example we could do an Iron Skin. And again we would have to drink this, or, oh sorry, in fact for this one you don't have to drink. So now, if we look over ourselves, with the Examine, and come to the Iron Skin Brew, you'll see here we reduce any incoming damage by a Monk level plus Constitution modifier. So pairing the Iron Skin Brew with the awesome ability of Stance of the Ox will severely hinder enemies if they attack you. For now, let's chase this enemy down, and we'll hit them with our unarmed strike, just like that. And now very simply, we just take this enemy out, hopefully 3 attacks should be enough. Just need 13 damage with a bonus action strike, and there we go. So the Brewmaster is awesome for allowing you to do so much with this. Whether you give yourself a ranged attack, you buff your melee strikes, you make yourself just the immovable object that can just be a damage sponge. It's phenomenal and there is no downside to drinking these concoctions. So I really hope you've enjoyed this mod. If you have, please drop this episode a like and check out the mod for being so cool. If you're already, please subscribe to the channel as well. I've got more guides to Baldur's Gate, to Dragon Age, Path of Exile, Wu Chang, Fallen Feathers, Elden Ring, basically all the amazing RPGs you could ever need. And hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.